Nice to see you back, man. So,
Mhm.
what what's your goal for today's session? I know last time we talked a lot about playing away from your team a bit more efficiently, or
Yeah. So,
kind of taking it the opposite direction. So, what's your thoughts going into today?
let's just start out with I think the idea of not joining every fight has been quite transformative, and a lot of heroes that I used to struggle a lot with feel very easy now, such as SF. That is like heroes like SF and Tinker, heroes that I really struggled with, and they feel like really fun and very strong now. Um, so I guess the question is just like what's the next step, I suppose.
So, interestingly enough, it sounds like because that wasn't my exact, that wasn't a direct thing for me to teach you. I was emphasizing to split push as much as you could, and it sounds like your takeaway from it has been, oh wait, I don't have to be at every single fight. I have like a choice now with the way that I'm playing the game, and then that's kind of opened up the game for you. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
Mm.
That's a cool I don't know, side effect or a good side effect. Side effect sounds negative, so it's a good
Mhm.
result, I guess. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um yeah, so has also helped you enjoy, yeah, I'd say like heroes like Quap kind of always want to fight to some degree, but SF
Mhm.
and Tinker, I could see how like where you're on the map on SF is very important, and for Tinker, splitting a lot of the game is also important. So
Yeah, it's
uh
just you're
yeah.
you're you're farming and you're playing on your own power spikes, really. It's almost
Yeah.
more a bit of a carry play style.
Hmm. That makes sense. Okay. So your goal today is to figure out what next, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, so I have a bunch of replays.
Okay.
And we can kind of look at whatever, really.
Would you like me to go in a specific order, or do you want me to start with the first one? What would you like?
We can just start at the top. That's fine.
Okay.
So specifically, when it says official, that's a RD2L game, or actually, it's a clarity game,
Okay.
meaning it's 5-man organized team.
Okay. So why this game?
We lost this game, even though I think I played quite well.
Okay. Check it out. Is there a specific point in the game you want me to watch, or just kind of breeze through it and see what happens?
Um, yeah, just kind of breathe through it, see if you see anything.
So, are you looking a lot at every stage of the game, laning phase, skip past the laning phase? Are you wanting like little tips and tricks? Are you wanting it to be more of a general scope of the game? Like what are you envisioning with what I'm going to talk to you about today? Like what would help you the most there?
Um, I think just kind of a general scope thing.
Okay. So
I
like
think my
nitpicking
laning is
your lane basically isn't necessary.
no, probably not. I think my laning is mostly fine.
Okay.
Like I do end up winning this lane. This is
Gotcha.
like a fairly easy lane as well.
Do you generally call for those type of rotations from your support?
No, I generally don't, but I probably should.
I was thinking, I'm like, I would hate to pressure this tower with this catapult and not have a support here. Like that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking if I was you.
and
Um,
that's something that I'm kind of getting better at recently, which is like when should I like call over my support? When is like a support rotation very valuable? In that specific case, the Storm had like no mana and was like low HP, so he couldn't like fight me. So I know that if my support shows up and the enemy support shows up, it's gonna be good for us. We're probably gonna kill them.
yeah. So
So that's
in
one of those things. And then the other thing is like I don't know what's happening in the side lane, and that's maybe something that I should look at a little more as well. But I can at least communicate what's happening in my lane and like how valuable it would be for them to rotate for a rune fight.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between telling your teammates what to do and saying, this storm is pressurable. I'm level 6 before he is. He's low mana. And like communicating that at 5:15 because I think a lot of mistake it sounds like you're aware of this. A lot of the mistake that people make, I think, is telling their teammates what to do. Like supports
Mhm.
come mid. When if you tell the guy what to do and he doesn't understand why he's doing it, it usually results in a lot of miscommunications, misplays, all that kind of stuff. I myself have historically been guilty. Like I've gotten a lot better at it, but I've historically been guilty of communicating stuff that I want people to do and expecting them to understand why I want them to do it.
Right, right.
So for me,
Yeah.
I've found that the best communication is exactly what you just said, which is communicating the state of your lane. Hey, Storm's pressurable, he's low mana, and we have a catapult. And if you say that at like 5:15, then your supports would ideally say either I can't make it to mid, Mars needs my help, or okay, I'll rotate through after I pull bottom. That's like the perfect type of they respond with okay, I understand the expected value of going mid, and the potential of going mid. I'm now going to choose to go there or not. And that's like what you're setting up. So I'm saying that in the sense that I don't think you need to know what's going on in your side lanes.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. That's up to them to make that choice.
yeah, and if you
But
initiate
they
the
need to know
communication, God.
what's going on in the mid lane, right? So that they can make that choice.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're the only reason or what you need to know about the side lanes is you're going to get that answer by saying this. No, I need
Yeah,
to stay top, or I need to stay bottom, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or I can't do that. I don't have resources, stuff like that. They're going to tell you that. So hopefully. So that's kind of rather than you needing to know what's going on in the side lanes, you can just tell them what's going on in yours, and hopefully you'll get a report back from them. And you can tell that to your team if you guys play together a decent amount, right? You can just
yeah.
tell
So
them, yeah, go
this
ahead.
is the thing that we communicated out of the game, which is that I was like, okay, I noticed that the enemy supports are rotating a lot mid. Can you guys try to rotate mid a little more? So I'm kind of putting it on them to like gather the information and see if it's good or not. But I do see that I can probably do more in that front.
Yeah, it's 100% more effective coming from you.
Hmm.
Possible for them to do it, but I would actually equate that to, hey, can you just tell me if I appear bothered to you rather than me being aware that I'm bothered? Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the comparison I would make there. So I'm glad you guys are talking about it.
Hmm.
But I definitely think the most efficient way to do it would be the communication coming from you. And you can even tell your teammates, I think it's a great thing to work on in a competitive environment, like where you're actually working with your teammates. So the biggest difference between this and a pub for me is that if your communication isn't good in a pub, what's the result? You
You
get
get muted,
you get muted
maybe.
and reported, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So if you tell your teammates in this setting, hey, I'm I'm aware that I can help you better understand when to come mid because I know what's going on in my lane, and I'm going to try my best to communicate my status of my lane to you guys to give you more
Yeah.
information. And if you tell them that, then they know what you're going for, and you can just say, if anything I say comes off the wrong way, please let me know after the game. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Because that's like the difference in pubs is the feedback you get is mute and report, and nobody knows what they did wrong. And it's when you're
Mm.
learning new communication, even no matter if it's Dota or real life, it's hard to know exactly what to say. So, yeah, the goal is to communicate the status of your lane, give them the choice to come mid, and play off of them responding to you. In pubs, you can act that type of communication has a massive impact on whether your teammates listen to you or not. So it's for me a hugely impactful thing in your pubs, but it's very difficult to learn it in the pubs.
Yeah,
So
I
that's how I
find
think. Go ahead.
in general, I find communicating during the game quite difficult. Like I
It
find
is.
that just playing it kind of takes up a lot of brain space. And it's hard to just talk at all. Usually, I just end up pinging like the rune timer, like 30 seconds before it spawns or something,
Mm.
and like let people make their own decisions.
I don't think you're alone there. I think that generally speaking, it's the same as communicating your thought process while you're thinking it is effectively what this is. Like
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I can pressure, and now I have to also pressure while saying that I can pressure. So for me, it's not an easy skill at all. And I think it is something that can be worked on always, of course. And it sounds like you're pretty open to it. So I think just it doesn't need to be some revolutionary change. It's just over time you can slowly but surely get better at this. By
yeah,
thinking of like I would choose one thing to communicate. Like what I would do if I was you, rather than I need to communicate my lane more, I would have a timer that at 5:15 I communicate something that tells them if if I need them mid, or like tells them the information for coming mid at 6 minutes for the rune.
yeah. So probably that would just be like pinging the enemy mid's like health and mana, and like
I'm
my health and
personally hugely against pinging. I don't see
you are.
it. I don't see it. Like I'm saying that
Oh,
there's
you don't notice when people like ping stuff like that.
I'm saying that my opinion is people are 10 times more likely to hear you say the things that you're saying than to look at your ping, register what it means, and act on it.
Right. Okay, I see. Yeah, yeah.
It's not that it's a bad way to communicate, but what we're trying to optimize here is the statistical likelihood that the guy's going to listen to us in the way that we want him to listen to us.
Okay.
Because what if you're pinging that the guy's low and the other guy thinks, oh, that means he doesn't need help with the rune?
Okay, I see. Yeah.
I'm just saying there's different ways to interpret that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you
Okay.
ping that Tusk is missing, like that could mean all types of things. Like it usually means you're like a threat to him, but that like whatever hero's missing kind of means different things. You
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
It could mean I'm fucking terrified, I'm gonna die without help. It could mean, hey, if I have a hero here, I want to kill that guy if he's at the rune. Like it could actually mean so many different things. To say like Tusk is missing, Storm is low mana. I know there's no Tusk in this game. I just threw it out there. Venge or Dazzle's missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my thoughts. So like for me, if I'm looking at like actionable things to do here, is like choose around a time around 5:15 where you will communicate something about the rune contest at 6 minutes. You can do this by asking yourself a question like, what are the resources of the mid? What are our chances to fight them there? Am I doing it to secure a rune? Am I doing it to fight them at the rune? You know how like sometimes you just bring two heroes and it makes the enemy fuck off, but you're not actually intending to kill them. You know what I mean? Like so there's like different like what are we intending with this? So create like 1 to 2 questions that you would effectively answer with your comms. So
Yeah, I feel like from the most obvious thing to me would be can fight rune or can't fight rune. Something like that.
okay, can we fight rune or can we not?
Yeah.
Which rune perhaps? Like meaning like perhaps like do I want to fight top or bottom rune or what have you?
Okay, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that actually.
Yeah, these are all things that's all we're trying to bring to your attention is things to think about. Is there um is this defensive or offensive rotation?
Okay, actually, now that I think about it, the slightly better communication is something like I want to fight rune, I don't want to fight rune. And then there's like I want to like 50-50 the rune, meaning I go to the opposite side of wherever the enemy goes.
Yeah. If I'm a support and I hear that you want a 50-50 the rune, then what am I going to do? I'm either going to not show up or I'm going to help you secure the rune on my side, or I'm going to try to steal the other rune from the other mid.
Yeah, you can like yoink it from the enemy.
Yeah, but that's up to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But as long as you communicate your intention, I have a decision.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. And that's like how we end up with way less communication and people making unforced errors because they're like trying to follow you without knowing what you're going for. I'm gonna nerd out for a second here. I've learned a lot about like relationship communication, and I'm now seeing how important, like in everything I've learned about relationships, what matters in the communication is not what exactly is the truth of this scenario, but what is the goal of the other person and what are they thinking about it. So like, what are they trying to accomplish with this communication? And I'm just realizing that that applies so much to Dota 2, and I'm literally realizing it in this discussion that all they need to know is your intentions and your read on the situation, and they will be 10 times more likely to do something in line with it rather than telling them to do a specific action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. I mean, there are times where specific actions are required. It's like you're in the middle of a smoke gank and you're like, Shaman, go first, I'll follow you up. Like, that's very different, of course. Like, that is still necessary, but yeah. Okay, so we're watching here. So I think the main thing for the mid lane is, yeah, like if you can get a little bit, even just a little bit more communicative in these games with your team, that'd be awesome. Kind of giving up a rune here. Didn't even go for top rune. Small thing. I know you're going for stacks.
Yeah, I do tend to still forget runes sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like you remembered the earlier ones, so maybe you forget them more later on.
There's kind of a point. I think the Legion had Blink at that point, so I didn't really want to be mid anymore.
Ah, I see. So that's a perfect example of Legion has Blink. I need someone in front of me if I want to get runes.
Yeah.
Something like that's great comms.
I mean, I guess my read on that situation is like, we just can't. It's gonna be bad. Someone's gonna get dueled and die, and like maybe the fight could be okay, but
I just don't want you to not get runes purely because one guy on the enemy team has playmaking potential. If you think that there's a recipe for getting that rune, I want you to be curious about it. Does that make sense?
yeah, okay, yeah.
Like it's if you conclude that it's not worth it to get the rune, then that's fine. We just don't want you to not go for the rune because it requires communication to get the rune.
Okay.
So
yeah. In this case, I see like someone in front of me basically means someone feed for me, and I don't see like I could get a counter kill, but also there's a high chance that I don't. So I feel like that's not really worth it.
My thought is that if you say, I need somebody in front of me for the rune, then somebody on your team is going to consciously choose to be the guy in front of you or not. And then if they say, oh, yeah, I'll walk in, but I'll need help, then Mars will be like, oh, I can TP mid. I have arena. Like, it creates a chain of communication.
Okay.
And if you don't communicate what that, like, because it's kind of like everybody in the game has roles. I would say largely mid is about mid lane control and runes, right? Like I think majority of your early game communication is around those things. Like for carry, it's a lot about like how's my lane doing and do I need help defending my tower? And like will I potentially rotate somewhere? Like I always tell people if I'm going to rotate as carry because people never expect their carry to rotate. Right?
Yeah.
So if I see an opportunity to rotate, I communicate it. And I just know as a carry player, if my mid laner says we're fighting, like I need help fighting bottom rune, and then another guy says, okay, I'll be there, and I think to myself, oh, I could be there too. I have Chronosphere. Like I know it's your Void's a support or whatever, but say it's a carry Void. It's like, oh, I have Chronosphere. I could be there. Like, but I would never consider being there if I didn't hear any of this stuff. So I just want. I'm trying. I hope I'm convincing you of the value of what happens when you create this chain of communication. So maybe we're fixating a bit too much on this though. So like, I think you get the idea. It's, even like one or two pieces of your game that you start communicating, it would have a huge. I would want you to feel the impact of that in a positive way, and then have that result in more communication. Like that's what I would. I think the goal of that would be. Okay, so you're chilling now. Okay, what's your Mars have? I really don't like this chilling. Okay. So what was the idea chilling here? You guys just knew they were missing?
So I know there's a Legion somewhere with a blink hunting me. And I mean it's like the same thing before, right? Where they have this like blink duel, which is gonna kill me, and someone has to tank it basically, and the resulting fight is not that likely to be good for us, unless they're like really overextended, and our like Mars doesn't have a blink yet, so we can't initiate. That's basically
My
it.
thought is if they jump one of your teammates, are you, Mars, and Shaman in ideal positioning to punish it?
That's an interesting question. Nobody wants to get jumped, so everyone is hiding, so it's not clear who is getting jumped. So it's hard to position around that.
I think the person getting jumped is ideally the Void. I think that's irrelevant, though, because when I say it's irrelevant, you guys have so much counter initiation. Like, I'm actually a bit, like, this is going to be a bit of an emotional response here. I'm a bit flabbergasted that you guys are so fucking scared. Like, your
Okay.
team fight is so fucking strong, and all of your cooldowns are available, and you're all here. Like, why are we so afraid of a single target initiation when we have 4 heroes right next to each other? And also, like, why is everyone so afraid to be the one that gets gone on? It should 100% not be the guy who does the most damage. That's like pretty much the one rule. Is the
It
guy
should be
that
me.
does the most damage should not be gone on. So that's you.
Yeah.
I think it's ideally a combination of the guy with the most survivability and the guy that, if he gets his spells off, even at 10% HP, would be useful. And so Chronosphere and Mars, right? Or not Chrono, whatever it's called, the
Time
square
zone.
time zone. So like for me, it's like Mars or Void, because either one of them counter initiates the other, and you two would be standing behind them with damage and disables, you and Shaman. With like the
Yeah.
current formation, it makes no sense for anyone to get gone on. And what I'm thinking is you're against Legion Commander, literally somebody's going to get gone on. So we have to make a plan. Like, we have to at least try one. You know?
Okay.
So, like, I know amongst your team, I can see, like, the person walking in is, like, sacrificial or whatever, but those are, like, game-winning plays. To
Yeah,
say,
they are.
like, hey, we're behind you, let them go on you, or bait them a bit, and then the Mars or the Void just tanks it and you guys shit on them. I mean, you end up cleaning them up anyway.
Yeah, it's like basically what happens, right? They
Yeah,
go
but
in.
imagine if, like, you guys were sitting right behind that guy.
He maybe doesn't die.
Who cares if he doesn't die? The Legion insta fucking dies, and the fight
All
just
right,
goes.
the Legion.
The fight just goes better. Like, I'm
Yeah.
saying, like you guys literally did exactly what I wanted you to do, poorly. Does that like
Yes.
you
Okay. Well,
counter
okay.
initiated it after, like, from like 10-second delay, basically. Like, instead of
So,
being right
so
behind the guy, you're over here.
yeah. Okay. So is this a situation where we should just take the initiative and be like, "Yo, Void, go walk up the mid lane, and we'll stand behind you and counter initiate."
So the way that people get better is that you guys all seem to understand. Like, you literally described to me how this fight's going to play out. We don't have blink, so we don't have initiation. They're going to jump somebody with Legion. So what do we do with that? Like, should Void go to the low ground? Should he sit on top of this hill and let them walk into him? Should Mars be sitting on the other hill ready to do the same thing? Like, there's
So the
some formation
yeah
here. You know what I
the
mean?
sort of like risk that I see to it is that if we get like one guy gets gone on, and then they get saved by Grave and Swamp, right? So like they save the Legion from our burst, and then like nobody on their team dies because we can't really chase them.
Yeah, but your burst is
That's like
also
how
like,
I
yeah, go ahead.
that's how I envision the fight playing out, and that's why I feel like we don't really want to do that. But I'm not sure.
I mean, you guys, like, if I don't know if you've played a lot of Legion, but what I hate the most on Legion is blinking in and there's just an AoE fucking ult around me from the other team.
Yeah,
So,
I've never
like,
played Legion.
I hate playing Legion in those type of games. So, like, if I'm Legion and I duel somebody and I'm fucking arena'd, like, okay, sure, I get, like, saved by Dazzle or whatever, but I'm just in an arena now. Unless I'm getting help, then, like, I will either not win the duel or like die afterwards. Either one. I mean, the biggest thing is I feel like when you said earlier, what I'm trying to okay. I want to detract from this exact situation here. Last coaching session, I may be making a stretch, but this is what I'm seeing. Last coaching session, we talked about you not hitting the enemy mid, and you said that individual attack doesn't really do anything, so I don't harass them at all. And I said, if you think like that, then you're just literally never going to hit anybody. And then 5 minutes ago, you said, I'm not going for this rune because Legion has a blink. And my response to that was, it seems like you're not even thinking about how to get this rune. There's just a reason not to do it, so you just don't do it. And then, in this case, these reasons for the fight to be tough, which are true, like Legion's going to jump somebody and Dazzle can save the Legion. It's like, my thought to all of this is, why do we even fight then? It's impossible.
Well, I don't think we wanted to fight.
You guys are sitting. You guys are sitting as 4 with all of your ultimates. When do you want to fight?
When Mars gets Blake.
So you're saying in Dota, you never want to fight unless you can start it.
Well, in this specific case, because if they start the fight, they can like set up with their saves and their duel and stuff like that.
I just think you guys have insane counter initiation. Like, you have an instant hex, you have arena, you have time zone. Like, you have so many sources of counter initiation that there's no way a single target initiation like shuts that down. Like, for like, maybe this is just a specific to this scenario thing. But I'm sensing a pattern, and I may be projecting or overthinking it, but I'm sensing a pattern that it's like your thinking is very binary. It's like,
yes,
we don't want to fight.
It's like we don't want to fight, so we're hiding from the Legion. Basically, that's basically the thought process.
Yeah, I understand that. So in Dota, if you're hiding from the Legion and you don't want to fight them, then I need you hiding down in this corner, Shaman hiding in these trees, and you're not hiding together as 4, avoiding a fight.
Well, I mean, we were like relatively close, I guess.
Dude, you guys are literally farming 0 creeps. You are effectively together.
Yes.
There are 0 creeps being farmed.
That's true.
And that's what I mean by together. Because the relevance of together in Dota and being separated is efficiency.
Yeah.
Not like exact proximity. So if your goal is to just let Legion get a kill and not fight them, then it's better that you're playing 5 different parts of the map. But if you're all in the same place, what you're telling me is whatever fight they're going to bring to us, we're going to best prepare for it as best we can.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like how do you do that? Because okay, so it's not quite that binary in the sense that the reason I'm standing at this mid tower is because I am thinking like, okay, we can counter initiate, and if they like overextend a little bit to the extent that like, you know, maybe their saves are a little too far back, and then the Legion like dies too fast, something along those lines, right? So that's why I'm standing in these trees here, because like, okay, I'm okay to fight. We can if someone else gets dueled, I can turn. So I need to hide. My Shaman doesn't want to get dueled either, and my Void is like in our triangle. So like, how do you play this? Because we don't know where they are or like where they're gonna come from. We don't know like what the angle is.
Okay. Curious, in this game, did you say, I'm willing to fight if somebody else gets dueled? Did you say that?
No, I didn't say anything. I don't talking during games almost ever.
Okay.
Very rarely.
So I want you to imagine if I'm the guy that's running in to die and I'm against Legion, why would I ever do that if I just think I'm going to die? Like, yeah. I have to understand the value of me dying.
Yeah, so he would have to have like the same read on the way the fight is going to go, basically.
Yes, and what are the odds?
I don't know.
They're very fucking low that guy has the exact same fucking read as you do. Very low. Like, people have a hard enough time thinking about what their hero's supposed to do. They don't understand what your hero needs. It's incredibly high skill to know what other heroes need in the game. We're talking like top 0.5% or less of players are able to do that. So the only way, even in my bracket, I should be communicating this, meaning like there's no end to being communicating this. But if he doesn't know your condition for fighting, then you end up in these spots. So I think I want to make sure I feel like I derailed this conversation a bit today, where what you told me at the start and what we're talking about now, I feel like turned into a communication thing, because I'm seeing a
Yeah.
bunch of issues for you that would be solved through communication. Is this
That's
a
definitely
useful
it's
session to
definitely
you today, or do you want to continue this discussion, basically?
yes, I would say communication is one of the things that I really struggle with a lot.
Okay. So let's
And
go
it's
ahead.
I mean, maybe the specific, I guess the reason I don't say anything here is because I don't know how to solve the issue. And I feel bad saying like Void go feed for us. You know, that's because it's effectively what would
Is that what
happen.
I'm telling you to do?
No,
What am I telling you to do?
I'm communicating that I need someone else to be in front.
Okay. So I totally understand the connection you're making in your head, but it needs to be oh so clear for all of us watching that there is a huge fucking difference between saying, "Hey, Void, go walk into the river and die for me," versus I need somebody in front to take the duel, otherwise I can't fight.
Yeah.
Like, and what you're then doing is giving Mars and Void a value proposition. Like, hey, if I can fight and dish out all of my damage, does it make it worth it to you to tank a duel? Like, that's the decision you're giving them. But
Yeah.
if nobody says anything, like, I just want to think about this like in real life, right? Like, I've actually had this happen with the Dota Dojo, where there was like a guy that this was like actually towards the beginning of the Dota Dojo, and I don't remember the exact specifics of the situation, but he talked about, I came to him because he had a problem with something that was going on in the dojo, and I asked him, hey, like, just politely, why didn't you mention this to me earlier? And he said, because I didn't have a solution, and I didn't want to just throw a problem on your plate. I want everyone watching to just imagine if everybody thinks this way, how does any problem ever get solved? like,
You need
if,
to communicate. So
yeah.
something needs to be communicated.
Yeah, there needs to be communication that there's a problem to solve. Like, for you, the problem to solve here is how do we team fight these guys?
Yeah.
And if I'm your teammate, how do I even know that you're thinking that that's a problem?
Yeah, yeah. Because I say this, playing this game felt quite awkward. And you can tell by me like standing in the trees for like a minute.
Yeah, this looks awkward as
Because I
shit. Yeah,
I don't know what to do. I can't like walk up to the wave. I don't know where the Legion is. She could be in my jungle. Like it's
absolutely.
yeah.
100%. Yo, that's why I'm thinking like, I coached you on a pub, and what the fuck are you doing here? And it's not like you're stupid. I was like, this just looks weird. Like, this doesn't look like the same player. So, but you're in a competitive match. So there's a lot more coordination. The Legion's more likely to be off map, buying a blink, smoking with their team, rather than, farming with a blink in lane or something. So like, I totally know what this is like to like play a team game information wise. Even we're talking like 4K, 5K average. Like, I coached that team in my video from like a week or two ago. And while I was coaching them, I'm like, holy shit, the opponent's giving you no information. I was like really impressed that 4K players were playing around information. I was like, that's cool. Like, people are pretty fucking good, actually.
Yeah, this team was quite good at this as well.
Yeah. So
I never knew where the Legion was.
yeah, that's great. I mean, that's honestly a really like just another indicator of how much better the Dota community is getting on like average skill level. And so I think, okay, I'm going to make this quick. This is a quick anecdote. So the way that the boomer generation talks to us about you should just get a job and like work your way, like have a hard-earned living and you'll be fine. What's the big deal? That disconnect with our generation for me is analytic, or it's an analogy for a player like me or other high MMR players saying you just need to farm or you just need to hit creeps. It's like, dude, 4K players are playing around fucking information. Like, that's... I didn't have to do this when I was just 4K. Like...
Yeah. Well, I will say the level of play is a lot higher because it's an official game, but yeah.
What I'm
I think
saying,
the
though, is
average
you
is
guys understand it. You may need to be coordinated to do it, but people understand it. Like, I'm saying that's impressive. And I do think there's a disconnect. And I'm actually learning more and more about this disconnect that high MMR players, including myself, have with the way pubs are played and stuff. Because it's more like you guys are capable of playing like this, and that's like way better than 4K back in my day. Back in my day. But yeah, no. So, like you said, going back to this whole root of the thing, I totally get. Like, I think as men, not to get like societal or whatever, we are pressured to not talk about our problems unless there's a solution. And one thing I'm really trying to preach in the dojo, whether it's actually about Dota gameplay or whether it's about things that are happening in the dojo, that if people have concerns, to just voice them. So, like, if you're concerned about, hey, Legion's missing and we're sitting here as 4, I can fight. I need somebody to tank for me. And then Void can be like, okay, I can walk down. Mars will be like, I'll be right behind him. Shaman's like, okay, I'll ward defensively. It's like, it creates this chain of people who can help you, helping you. And so that, I think what's amazing about this is it takes one of you to start this.
Yeah.
It doesn't technically have to be you. But I often think that the stronger the hero in the game is, the more powerful their communication will be.
Yeah, because I'm like the only one having a good game.
Yes. Right, so in general, in a game like this, when I look at the net worth distribution, you would have the most accurate call. Like, if everyone was an equally skilled communicator, your call would be the most accurate, generally speaking, based on power level in the game. So for me, the things to communicate are, what is the condition for the fight you'd like to take? So in this example, I'm willing to fight if someone else gets dueled.
Yeah, or like Legion's like dead, or can't blink on me, like some other variants.
Yeah. So as long as I don't get dueled, I can fight.
Yeah.
Is an example. So, the first, like, the series of events is looking at how to deal with fights is, why do I think a fight is happening? So, hey, Legion's missing with a blink. I can't fight. So we combine that with, okay, so like Legion Commander is missing with a blink is an example here. So if I were to say, hey, Legion Commander's missing with blink, I can't fight. I can fight if I don't get dueled. Like, that is incredibly good communication. And it answers 2 questions of, why do I think a fight is happening? And what is the condition for taking that fight? So this is not communication I expect you to suddenly do in your games. But I'm hoping, because we're kind of building the bare bones here, of a framework for communication for you. So in the future, if you were to have really awkward fights like this, especially with your team, maybe in pubs too, that you can go through this saying, why did I think a fight was happening in the first place? And what is the condition for fighting? And if you were to do that, that's like 10 times more impactful than saying nothing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? Is this helping? Is this like something you think you could like roll with yourself, or how is this sounding?
So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the issue that I run into is that I'm not sure why it's so difficult to talk during a game. I mean, I kind of know it's because I'm doing other things, right? I'm like preoccupied. So like how? And I guess the better question is, I don't know how to solve that.
You don't know how to solve the idea that it's difficult to talk, is what you're saying.
I don't know how to like make myself talk more during games.
Now,
Because like
Good.
this whole thought process, right? You can go through this preemptively, but to some extent you need to also think about what you're actually saying. You need to see like, okay, something awkward is happening on the map. Why is that happening? How do I communicate this? I find
Hmm.
that I noticed too that it's quite inconsistent. Like sometimes I'll communicate more than other times, and I think it's mostly with to do with like how like locked into the game I am,
Hmm.
or like how comfortable I feel with the game state, something like that.
Okay. So I'm gonna go into a bit of an anecdote again here. By the way, since we're having a lot of theoretical discussion here, we are gonna go over time. But I do have to go in 50 minutes. So just want to make that clear right now.
Right.
Just so we're on the same page.
For sure.
So where was I? Um, okay. One thing I've learned the most in the last like month specifically is how agonizingly more painful things are when we're talking about psychologically and also emotionally potentially when I don't understand what's happening to me. Can you
Mm.
relate to that?
Yes.
Okay. And it feels like if I know the enemy, then at least I know what's going on and I can handle it better. Even if like
Right.
there's like
Right.
this comfort that this is only as bad as it is because that's just reality and there's nothing I can do about it compared to I really don't understand what enemy I'm facing here and I feel like this could be better if I just knew how.
Yeah.
You
I feel like that makes sense. I feel like
okay.
when I have like a really clear idea of like what's going on the map and like how the fights are supposed to be played and like
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to be, where my team is, but then I can have a much easier time communicating than when I'm like unsure about things.
Okay. Exactly. So you took what I just said, which was about general speaking, and you applied it to Dota in the exact way that I was thinking about. Um, in terms of applying it to Dota. So that's good. You made the connection clearly between two different things, meaning that I'm confident that we're on the same page. Um, so for me, when it came to this other stuff, what's really interesting, to me personally, really interesting, is that, you know, I was told like 3 years ago, maybe, that I needed to be more, not I needed to be, but I realized that I needed to be more literate when it came to my emotions. So if I
Mm.
know, hey, this is what anxiety feels like, hey, this is what shame feels like, hey, this is what, you know, frustration feels like, hey, this is what anger feels like. It's like, if I understand those things better, then I will handle that emotion better. Like that's what I was told. But back then, I didn't really know what that meant. I was just like, that makes
Yeah.
sense, but yeah, I don't really know what that means, really. Like I understand what you're saying, but I don't really get what that means. And so, you know, something I've dealt with in the last month or so is I never knew what it meant to trust somebody. Like
Mm.
like that's an intuitive concept, right? To like say I trust you, but what does
Yeah.
like it really mean? So like what happened to me there was that if I trust somebody and I don't really know what it means to trust somebody, like I don't really understand, and then they do something that breaks my trust, but I wasn't even consciously trusting them in the first place. I just kind of intuitively trusted them. And it feels fucking awful, like to have your trust betrayed effectively.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know that's what's going on, then I'm just like, this fucking sucks. And that's the amount that I'm able to articulate it. Like
Right.
that's where I was at. I was just like, this fucking sucks. And I don't know why this sucks so much. And then
Mhm.
it literally took me like a week and a half, maybe even longer, like 3 weeks, to really understand, okay, I had my trust broken. This is what it means to trust somebody. This is what it looked like. This is what it feels like to be betrayed. And in the future, when I'm betrayed, this is what I would like to do. Like, but that took me 3 weeks to get that far. But what I'm saying is I feel so much better in the sense that next time I'm betrayed, which is inevitably going to happen, even unintentionally, like it's not like it's malicious always, is I know what I'll do next time. So what I'm trying to draw the connection to is that situation took me 3 weeks to resolve. Trust is much harder to solve than team fights. Like it's much more emotionally intense. So I'm not trying to sign you up for a 3-week how to solve team fights situation. But I do think it's the same process, which is this felt awful. That's the first step. This felt awful. Like, this feels fucking awkward. Like, I'm in this game, fucking sitting in a tree, and I don't know what to fucking do now. So it starts with this. Like, I'm going to type this out as I'm saying it. So basically addressing difficulty communicating in the first place. Right? That's kind of what we're talking about. So step 1. Something feels awful. Or awful, awkward, uncomfortable, something like that. Step 2. Mention it after the game. Not during the game. Mention it after the game to somebody. Especially helpful in a team setting. Right, where they lived it with you. Especially helpful in a team setting. Because I guarantee you, in my own experience, 90% of the time that you say this situation felt really awkward and uncomfortable, if people played that game with you, they'd be like, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Right. Step 3 is enter problem solving mode or understanding mode. Enter understanding mode. Why was that so awkward? And so I feel like what you and I did 20 minutes ago was doing this portion. Like, why is this so awkward? And you're like, well, Legion's missing, and if he goes in, then Dazzle will save him, so it doesn't feel like we can protect somebody. Somebody's gonna get gone on and die, and that sucks. Like, that's the why is this so awkward discussion. And then step 4 would be, okay, how would I, how can I replicate, how can I replicate communicating this happening next time? That's how I would think about it. What's a question, or the question is, how do we train, this is a hard question. How do we train ourselves to detect I'm in this situation again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
How specific are you going to be in that?
Yeah, it's a tough question. So maybe why is it so awkward? Maybe a better step 4 is how broad of a general description can we give this scenario? So for me, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the best way I would sum this up is I can fight, but I am scared of their initiation.
Yeah.
Which I think is a pretty common thing.
Yeah. I'd say the way to describe the situation is they have initiation, we don't, and nobody on our team wants to be point of contact for their initiation.
Yes. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
So what we would need you to do somehow, what we're trying to figure out together right now, because I'm literally coaching myself as we're coaching through it here, is how do I get you to draw a line between what you just said and the next time it happens?
What do you mean by draw a line?
What I'm saying is that you have this scenario, and what our goal is, theoretically, the end goal, we want to get on the same page of what the end goal here is. When it came to the trust thing, it took me 3 fucking weeks to understand that my trust was betrayed and what I want to do with that. Next time, my goal is it takes me far less than 3 weeks. Like,
Right.
I don't
Okay.
want to go through that shit again for 3 weeks. I don't mind having my trust betrayed again. Not ideal, but it's going to happen. Like, shit happens. People hurt each other, whatever. So I need to prepare for that to happen again. What can I do to make it so it takes me less than 3 weeks? Like, that was my thought. So for me, I was trying to identify what were the signs, whether it was from what somebody else was doing or saying, or what are the signs of what I was experiencing. Like, what are signs that I think will show up that I can detect and be like, okay, I know the thing I'm supposed to do now, right? So what I'm trying to do is, how can we turn this 20-minute discussion about this single team fight, right, into a next time? Maybe it's not a 20-minute discussion. It's a simple, I gathered this. I remember having this discussion with BSJ. I remember this type of scenario. Let's spend a team discussion aligning on this. And then eventually, you're in the game itself making this communication. But that's like down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can't just be like, the next step from here is not next time you're in an awkward team fight scenario, you're going to communicate it. Like, that's way too huge of a jump.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So we want to move forward here, right? We want to move you towards that direction. Like, the final instance of this is, I detect team fights awkward. I ask myself internally, like, this is subconscious. I ask myself why it's awkward. I ask myself what we need. I communicate, hey, Void, or hey, I need someone to walk in front. I can't take duel. And then that's what happens in the game. But that's like, that I'm thinking to myself, man, that's an insane ask to like ask you to do that when you're telling me you struggle with communication in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
so we're trying to get you off the ground.
It's not that insane. I think at some point the Void on our team did realize, like, hey, I just have to like go in and tank duel, and that did happen a few times.
Okay.
And the fights were usually good. And I did even in the back of my mind, I did think, like, okay, if someone else goes in front and tanks duel for me, I can fight. I just didn't want to like give that as a solution because I wasn't sure about it, I guess.
I think the biggest thing that you're fixating on, and I want to make sure I draw attention away from here, is you are not trying to give people a solution.
Yeah.
You are
But
trying to
it feels
communicate
like
your
that, though, you know?
Yeah, but you're trying to communicate your perception of the game.
Yeah, okay.
And what happens is, once all of you have the same perception of the game, that's when communication about solutions happens.
Right, okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like, it's a theory. Should it be Void tanking? Should it be Mars tanking? Should it be Shaman to your right while they're tanking, so that if the smoke comes from the right, he hexes the Legion and then the Void time walks in? Like, there's like a million ways you can do this. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
and that's fun. That's a fun discussion, in my opinion. That's a fun discussion to have. It's like, how do we play that out? What is the best way to do it? I think that's a really interesting discussion. But we don't get there unless you're all in the same perception in the first place. Something I think is really interesting, another small tangent, because this is effectively relationships. It's like, you guys are teammates. It is like a relationship of sorts. So it's like, what I've learned in relationships is, the second that if I'm in a conversation with my girlfriend or a close friend or whatever, and let's just hypothetically this conversation lasts an hour and we're trying to solve a problem. What I've learned is 55 minutes of it is aligning our perceptions, and 5 minutes is the solution.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
that makes sense.
a very small portion of the discussion is solution, because I've learned once our perceptions match, like, the solutions just fucking flow. Like, they just like, there's so many different options. The communication's really open and all that kind of stuff. So I do think this applies in Dota teams as well, 100%. And I'm very confident about that.
Yeah. So I need to like. So in my head, I'm like, okay, if I communicate something like that, I'm effectively making a call, but that's not actually what I'm doing, right? I'm communicating the situation as how I see the situation.
Yes, exactly. I'll put in bold in this document. You are not making a call. You are communicating your perception of the situation.
Yeah. Okay.
This is like an exclamation point, because I understand the idea of what if I'm wrong? I feel bad if I guide my team in defeating. And there's this thing that happens in Dota where you'll say something like I told you, where you're like, I can't fight, I need somebody to go in for me to tank the duel. And then Void takes that as, I'm going to walk into the fucking river, and he feeds, and then he goes, where's my SF?
Yeah,
you know,
like time walks under the enemy tier 1 and gets dies.
And so what happens here is, then what happens is the guy will say, well, you said you needed someone to tank for me. And then you'll say, well, that's not what I meant. Like, this is what happens, right? So what's interesting is that, you know, people will fixate on what the guy said. What matters is what the guy meant. You know, that's what matters.
And what the other person understood.
Yes, exactly. That's what communication is. I said something, and my goal is that you took it the way that I meant it. Like, that's what communication is in a nutshell. So, so it's like, you know, what we talked about with this, just quick recap, getting us back to where we are, is first off, something feels awkward. Our goal is that after the game, you mention it to somebody. Like, I would love in the dojo if you guys come in and just say, like, hey, I had this moment in like minute 15 that felt really fucking awkward, and I want to figure out why it felt awkward. Like, because maybe you don't know. And it's always easier when you're bouncing it off of other people. And then you enter understanding mode. Why was that so awkward? Which is the discussion with that person. And then step 4 would be, how, after we have this understanding mode, how would I describe what I now understand? You know, like, I want to put a description on it. So what you did with, I can fight, but like, I'm scared, like, I need someone to go in for me, or I'm scared of their initiation. That, in my opinion, is like the description of all scenarios that this applies to, right? This specific instance, which is a lot of scenarios. But sorry, go ahead.
So you think about it so that you can find a way to say it that you like know beforehand, so you don't have to think about it, and you won't be misinterpreted, most likely.
Yes. And as long as you're consciously deciding what you're going to say ahead of time, and you do get misinterpreted, you can learn to communicate it better.
Right. Yeah.
That's like, because if you don't have a basis like this, and somebody misunderstands you, it's really hard, in my experience, to figure out how to make them not misunderstand me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it sounds like you are really grasping it based on the way you're echoing back to me, like what I'm trying to get here. So the goal is, like you said, final goal, which is step 5, is have a effectively pre-planned way to communicate step 4, like that the situation's in place. Effective way to pre-plan this communication, so that people understand me better in the game itself. Because what we don't have time for in the middle of the game is to process this shit. We don't have time. You just don't have fucking time. Like, I want to make it clear to everyone watching, this type of shit, this discussion, like, I'm giving you a like, if you and I had never had this, or if you and I had already had this discussion of what I think is important, this team fight would probably take us 10 minutes to discuss, maybe 5. But that requires me and you to have this alignment conversation on how we're going to handle discussing team fights. Does that make... So I'm just letting you know, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but, you know, anytime somebody in the server talks to you in class or about team fights and stuff, like, I want us to try to help people understand that this is how we want to try to talk about team fights. Because, and I'm going to be trying to do this in my classes too. I'm not saying it's like purely on you, but this alignment conversation, I think, goes a really long way, because anytime we talk in class in the future, anytime we interact about team fights, you have all of this context, and then you'll just ask me a question like, hey, BSJ, this fight was really awkward. Help me understand it. And then we spend 3 minutes back and forth, and then we come up with why it's so awkward. And then I ask you, how would you describe this in the future? And then, you know, this whole process just becomes a 7-minute conversation rather than
Yeah.
this whole thing.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized too now that I do have like certain phrases like that I use sometimes. Like, if I want to play for a specific item timing, I'll be like, I want to farm this item, and I'll ping like, well, 1,000 gold till Blink or till BKB or something like that. That's like kind of the same thing of like pre-planned communication that people, hopefully for the majority, people will understand.
Yeah. And sometimes even if they're supposed to understand and they just don't, meaning like they heard you, they understood you, they got distracted by something that happens in the game and they go feed.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, right? So yeah, it's just sometimes like we do have to figure out that balance of taking the accountability for our communication, but also just no matter how good we communicate, sometimes people just aren't going to listen. And then it's how we respond to them not listening. Do we take it personally, or do we just acknowledge, hey, people don't always understand?
Yeah.
And the majority of Dota players, I think, struggle with this issue. I really used to struggle with it. Is when people don't listen to your comms, you take it personally.
Oh yeah.
That happens very commonly in Dota. I used to be very passive aggressive about this kind of stuff. Very so. Okay, so we talked an arm and a leg off about this fucking freeze frame here.
Yep.
I said I can go about another 25 minutes. Would you like to keep watching this game? Would you like the rest of the session to be team focused, communication focused as well? Would you like it to be more individual based in like a pub? What would help you round off this session?
Let's move to a pub game.
Okay.
For some different context.
Sure.
Do the Tinker loss one.
Okay, Tinker loss. Let's go. So why did you choose this one out of the 3 that you submitted that were pubs?
Because I feel like this is how do I explain this? This is like kind of emblematic of how you lose as Tinker.
Gotcha.
That's the way I feel about it.
That's a good way to describe it.
You
How would you describe what it means to lose as Tinker emblematically?
The enemy team has a lot of early tempo. You lose a lot of buildings early. They buy blinks. You have nowhere to farm. Everybody's feeding. And then the game ends, basically. That's about it.
Sound good.
And there is kind of a communication thing as well here. So I'm against a tiny mid. Tiny mid is he's gonna rotate. He's gonna like walk to the side lanes, press his spells, and probably get kills. And there isn't really a whole lot I could do about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I get you.
And that's something that I wasn't like fully aware of to the right extent during this game. This is something that I kind of learned this game, which is like my hero kind of fucking sucks ass like early on.
Yeah. I feel that.
And my team was like, and this is also something that I learned that I should really not listen to my team when stuff like this happens. But my team was like flaming me for like, oh, the mid diff, this tiny is killing
all over the place. Yeah.
And this guy's just farming. Like, what the hell?
I get that.
And I did get like, yeah, I got it's something that I try to not let it affect me, but it does still a little bit, right? Sometimes when I'm not like I had just woken up. This was like the first game of the day, so I was like not really fully locked in.
I got you.
I took it, yeah. So I didn't ignore it the way I should.
I mean, the word "should" is a dangerous one here. I know I've critiqued it before, but like I still get in my own head about games sometimes, and no matter how much I've worked on it, and so for me, it's not as much about. The most important thing for me is that I don't shame myself when I get in my own head. Like for me, it's like I'm in my own head. I have been on a self-improvement journey for 6 fucking years, and I still get in my own head during a Dota game. Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
So for me, it's much more like the same idea of this team fight is this shit's gonna happen, And it matters what I do with it when it happens. I'm in my own head, right? So everything you're saying, I think, is like a very, like, God, every fucking Dota role has like a toxic relationship with the other roles in like some way, just because the history of this game is, so vast. Like, I think so many people, if you ask mid laners what bothers you the most about your teammates, is when they complain about you not ganking. Like, I think that's an answer most mid laners would give. It would at least be like top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, when I get in my own head, what I've realized is that there's almost always merit to what the other person is saying, and it's often unfair to me that they're saying it.
Yeah.
Those two things are like the things I've noticed. So what I've learned, these are just food for thought for now. What I've learned from this is it requires 2 things, because I have to address those 2 things. There's merit to what they're saying, and it's unfair to me that they're saying it. Okay? That's the majority of flame in Dota 2. That's in my experience. The flame that puts me in my own head. So I have to address both these things. The first one is addressed by being compassionate towards the person that is flaming me. So, meaning, hey, I acknowledge that it's really frustrating to be dying as a carry as my mid laner farms.
Yeah.
That's a really frustrating thing to experience.
Yeah, it's not fun to get chain ganked by a Tiny.
Yeah, like that fucking sucks. And my hero also can't fucking do anything. So that sucks too. So the second part about that is compassion to myself. That fucking sucks. I wish I could help him, but I also don't deserve this flame, and that's not fair. That's compassion towards me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I know that like what I'm getting at here is that there's just no fucking compassion in this game, and people think compassion is often associated, at least in the man world, to weakness. For me, it's just acknowledging that a situation sucks, and oftentimes it is a mutually sucky situation, and both people are upset with each other for the role they play in the suckiness of the situation. We're upset that he's flaming us. He's upset that I'm not ganking. But when we break it down, it is upsetting for him, and there is nothing that your hero can do about it. So we're gonna be here. Like, this is just a situation that's gonna happen. So rather than complaining about how shitty it is, we need to find a way to communicate, but also how to handle it. So this isn't as much about, for me, I would say, like, first off, thinking about communication, like, hey guys, like if I'm playing Tinker, Arc Warden, stuff like this, like, hey guys, Tiny's gonna look to rotate around minute 6. Just be careful. I'll communicate where he is with the runes, but that's about all I can do. Like, that's what I would say. And then at 6 minutes, I'll say, hey guys, Tiny has top rune. I don't know what it is. Or, hey, he has haste. Be careful. I can't help. Be careful. Top. That's all I can do, though. I can literally tell them, hey, a car's coming, but they might just be stuck in the road and die anyway. And so that's the only thing I can do. And whenever somebody flames me, it is this natural defensiveness of like, there's literally nothing I can do about that. Like, I can't save you. I am useless in the first 15 minutes of the game. So acknowledging I am useless, and the only thing I could have done was be more clear about what's happening in the game. That's like the only difference I can make. But then honestly, aside from that, I'm just letting you know, like, my conclusion has been compassion towards myself and towards the person flaming me. That's the only.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because what I end up doing is, as a solution, is I try to help.
Yes.
I end up like keeping in, and then it just goes poorly, and I die, and my game is kind of fucked as well.
That is well intentioned. Okay. God, man, I'm really enjoying today's session because it's a lot of psychology stuff. So, God, this may be personal, but whatever. I had a friend that. I'm saying this because I think it helps people to hear this. I had a friend who's also a gamer, and when he was having a tough time in life, what he wants to do is, like, there's just days where he's a little bit overwhelmed, and he wants to go play video games. Right? And so when his girlfriend would see that he was upset, she would try to help him by giving him more attention. And what he wanted was to be alone. But when he was upset, he didn't tell her that. Like, he didn't tell her at any point in their relationship, when I'm upset like this, I would just like to be left alone, and that's what I need to feel better. Because what's his girlfriend doing? She's just trying to help. You know what I'm like? That's all she's doing.
Yeah.
But she's making it worse. And then what happens in these relationships is, without this is what I need to help, or this is what I need you to do, then people try to help in ways that they shouldn't be trying to help. Which, in your case in the Dota game, is I try to help them when my hero's not capable of helping them.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you see the parallel that I'm drawing here, right? Is all that we can do is acknowledge, first off, if we're the person that needs help, to tell people we need help. Like, meaning you're the SF at minute 5:15 and you're like, I need help getting bottom rune, or I need help securing runes if I'm going to get it. Or if you're the guy that's helping them, here's my thought for you guys. This is hopefully a concrete takeaway. If you can't tell me how you're going to help them, then don't help them.
Yeah. Okay.
Be very clear about how you intend to help them.
I think something that makes sense to me is that instead of like listening to them and trying to TP to help, I just explain the situation to them. Be like, hey, sorry man, Tiny's gonna rotate. I can't really do much.
Yes. And it's
Good
infinitely more impactful if you tell them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a work setting where somebody fucked up, and then once you found out about it, they were like, I'm really sorry, but this is how the situation is?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I've been in that situation, and maybe people watching have. It's way better if they come to me saying, hey man, I fucked this up, and it's going to affect you in this way.
Right.
And then when it happens, I'm like, oh, I see. That's what they were telling me about. And it's like, you didn't even fuck up here. You just picked a hero. But like,
Yeah.
The same idea as I'm saying, it's infinitely less unsettling if I knew it was coming. So if you know this is coming, you've picked Tinker 20 times, and 9 of those games your teammates flame you for not ganking, then the most impactful thing you can do is communicate ahead of time the problem that you know is going to happen. For me, that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, this is something that I wasn't really aware of before this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or not to the same extent, at least.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, because it looks like you're still learning Tinker a little bit fresher.
Yeah, I'm fairly new to it.
So I do think here, when you see this gank happening, you're not allowed to retreat to jungle. That's for sure.
Okay.
Like, you see this top thing, I need you to, like, go march this creep wave right now. Like, walk up, march the creep wave, hit the tower.
Okay. That's fair.
Because what happens here is you can't do anything about this, and you're not even, like, a tower threat, but you can make them be like, oh shit, our mid lane's dying, one of us should leave. But because you're not doing that, it extends the play. Like, they're just allowed to keep doing this. This is because you're not pushing mid tower. This part.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So we talk about all the things you can't do, which is like really help them in a meaningful way. But what you can do is pressure your lane with urgency if they gank. And yeah, Tinker's not much of a pressure hero. But when you're not much of a pressure hero, that just means the situation for when you pressure is more specific. So for Tinker, I would make sure I march the wave ASAP if they are ganking other lanes.
Yeah.
And so it's like the same thing as earlier. We know what the problem is. We know what our reaction to the problem will be. Rather than... so if you see Tiny pick up a rune, guess what? When you see Tiny pick up a rune, you're not going to do something that makes it so when he gets to the top lane, you can't lane. Like, you would have TP'd base right now, and then TP'd back mid. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I actually think you can also potentially counter gank this, but then I look at it and I'm like, maybe not. I think I would
Yeah.
have, honestly, you knew
I
this
think
was
I'd
coming. Like,
try.
yeah, you actually know this is coming. Like, watch. Like, when I say this, like, look at what Tiny does. I'd say, hey, guys, Tiny coming top, and I would TP base right now.
Okay.
And then I would, like, as Tinker, you can very non-committally TP behind these guys and
Yeah.
say something like, hey, go bait them or whatever. So I think earlier, not possible. But here, when you know it's coming and you're a counter-initiating gank, like, you are a dissuader hero.
Yeah. I could push March twice and
Yeah, and be like, okay, fuck off Axe, fuck off Tiny. And if they over pursue, then you're good. And the beauty of this is you're also not really missing farm in comparison to the enemy mid, right? You're not missing farm, so this is a bit overly passive. I think this is also you farming a bit too much. Yeah, so you end up going late. But yeah, Tinker's a preventative hero until Blink. I think with Blink you can turn things, but before Blink you're more of a preventative hero.
Yeah, chasing feels very awkward.
Yeah. Until you have Blink, yeah. So you're gonna go back to base, and then yeah, I mean then you push it out. Yeah, you're not looking around the map wide enough, but that's, you know, you're learning Tinker, so not too worried about that. Okay, that was nice of you. You're gonna help him. Okay, you're looking around a pretty good amount. Lane game seems to be going fine. Who's hurting on net worth so much? Okay, it's your carry. That's like really hurting. Okay.
Yeah. Also, that felt quite bad to me. Like I rotated to try to contest the 14-minute rune or the 14-minute wisdom. We end up not getting it, and my mid tower ends up dying. So I'm like, that was not good. Because now with the mid tower dead, feels like very difficult to play the map or like play for farm.
Okay. I'm gonna type this down. Okay. Remember earlier how I said that if you feel like that team fight is hard to take, that your teammates are going to feel the same?
Mhm.
So this feeling that the map is closing in on you, the lanes are consistently pressured, and the opponent has momentum, that's something that everyone on your team is going to feel, right?
Yeah.
So for me, my thought here is it seems small, but I would want you to tweak to feel that and to know that your sense of urgency to clear waves over jungling has to skyrocket
Okay.
when you feel that way. So it's not a matter of what is the most gold I can get on the map. It turns into what is the most influence on the waves that I can have.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean by this? Like the difference?
Yeah.
Because it feels bad to like, it feels contradictory for me to say, you guys need to hit more creeps, and then say, you shouldn't be jungling these camps. I need you to clear top wave. Like, those are contradictory things on the surface. But the point is that there is this balance between playing for efficiency and playing for urgency. And urgency is higher. Like, the efficiency is once you've won, like, the battle of the lanes. And the only time you don't go to lanes is when your hero can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, like, Ricky's kind of in that spot right now.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So what happens here is instead of farming these two camps, I would know, okay, the lanes are consistently pressured. They're running at us. And I would look at this, see the Undying pushing, and I would TP top with full mana, clear these two creeps, and say, hey, I'm ready to come bottom. And instead of Ogre TPing top, and you guys fighting like 2v4 bottom rune, he TPs here because you're not here. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I showed it in my carry coaching session that I released on YouTube, I think yesterday, where there was this moment where I wanted him to go bottom from top, and he didn't go bottom. And what happened was then his mid went bottom, and then a fight happened top that included him instead of his mid. And I told him, do you see how if a minute ago you went bottom, your mid would have been mid, and he'd be in this fight? But instead, you're in this fight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same thing here. You're in this fight bottom because you were farming jungle at 1340 instead of this lane.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when the sense of urgency on the map is not high enough. It
If
feels like
this wave, then maybe Ogre clears mid wave or helps with the
yes, and the tower lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
All this stuff. It's a chain reaction. And yeah, so it's all about what is your impact that you can have on the lanes, and then gauging like that feeling of, man, the map feels like ass. Like this sucks.
Yeah. That is something that I will look out for. Like usually the carry is still here in this lane.
Yeah. That's the point, is a lot of times we get into this mode of we understand the common occurrences that happen in games.
Yeah.
And so what becomes dangerous is when we assume it to be true.
Yeah.
So you're assuming most of the time that the carry will occupy his lane and defend his tower, which is true, like a large portion of the time. But if you're assuming that and you handle it accordingly, then you're not thinking this way. So it's more like, what is the pressure in the lanes and what can my hero do about it? That is a question that will be answered accurately. Like, it will give you accurate plays every single game, no matter what situation.
Yeah.
It's just, you need to answer the question correctly, meaning like if you think you can defend top lane and then Tiny smokes on you with a blink and kills you, then you learn something.
Yeah.
But yeah. From that point you'll be learning in a meaningful way though. So yeah, from what I'm seeing is just a tad too much farming of jungle compared to lanes. So I'm watching map. You're level 12 now. So that opens you up to help a lot more in fights potentially. You're going to TP here, but probably, yeah, diving's a no-go. This was probably you overcompensating in the way you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so what's happening here is if you're not at least trying to split push waves as Tinker, you're kind of just fucked, honestly.
Yeah, they kind of just get to do whatever they want, right?
Yeah, like the only thing you can do is try to like clear this wave or this wave, like whichever one you think is better. One of them has to be available to you. Yeah. And if you need to buy a Ghost Scepter in order to clear the wave without being afraid of Anti-Mage, then buy a Ghost Scepter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's like the right item, but remember how we talked about playing away from your team more and then buying the right items to do so? So like Kaya Sange for me is a luxury. Kaya is probably necessary. Like I've seen every Tinker go Kaya, so I assume it's necessary.
Yeah.
But like here in a tough game, your job is to fix lanes. So we would love to buy an Ags or a Kaya Sange, but do these items help us clear lanes against the heroes we're dealing with?
Yeah.
That's the question we ask. So that's why sometimes you'll see Tinkers go like Kaya Blink Force Staff or like Kaya Blink, Ghost Scepter. Like they'll go some small item, but that's only in like a bad game where they have to. Like they're not going to do that if they don't want to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so right now you've given yourself the mana and the positioning, and then is there an item that makes it easier for you to live on the map? And then you buy it. Because of the nature of the map right now. Go ahead.
There's a point where I do end up like 1v1ing the AM and it does not go well.
Yeah.
So I think that's because his team shows up.
Yeah, my question in these type of games as like a follow-up in the document is when I am heavily responsible for lanes, what are my map matchups? What items must I buy to occupy the same part of the map as certain heroes on their team?
Yeah. This is something that I don't really know as Tinker. That's just something that I'm still figuring out.
Yep. As long as you tell me that's the problem you're trying to solve, and you're still learning, then that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't expect you to know it, just on the right track of that's the question we're answering. If you and I agree that that's the question you're trying to figure out, then you'll go in the right direction, I think. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, right here, maybe? Oh, yeah, you try to go for... Yeah, I see.
Yeah, the reload, that's what it was.
Well, the thing is, do you know why you're contesting him on the map?
Why am I contesting him on the map?
Like right now. What's
I
the
felt
goal?
like I
What are you
could-
both doing?
Pressure side lane.
Okay. Dude, you won! Like, where are you going?
I wanted to kill him.
No, you won! The lane's yours! You pressured it!
Yeah.
You won!
Yeah.
I know you're pushing...
This is limit testing, right?
I understand. I'm just letting you know, like, I get it. I'm not telling you to never chase for this kill, but I just want to be very clear that what your goal here is to push this wave and the next one.
Yeah.
So that's what your goal is. I'm just making sure we're on the same page. That's all. And I just feel like if you knew your job was lanes and you were cool, calm, and collected, 100% locked in, you would not have made that play.
No, absolutely.
That's what I mean. Like, you can say it's limit testing, but to me it looks forced and desperate. But maybe I'm projecting.
No, I like a little bit. I did have like in my head like, okay, I can laser the AM, bait his shields, and then when he blinks away, I can blink after him and laser him again, and he'll be dead. That's like the play that I had in my head.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work out that way.
Hey, you know what? You had a play in your head and you went for it. I'm never gonna shut that down. I'll tell you that it wasn't correct, but you seem to already know that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a meeting with my team in just a few minutes, so I do need to wrap up the session. I feel like I guess just real quick for the replay, it's really up to you what you'd like to deliver me, whether it's like a sense of urgency on the map about lanes. I think that's a great one to talk about when we're talking about playing Tinker, or you can send me something about the communication stuff. I think either one's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Communication stuff or sense of urgency on the map is what I'll be looking for, but if you find something else, it's fine too.
Okay.
Okay. Sweet, man. I enjoyed the session. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye-bye.